are live. So, welcome to episode 286 of An American Werewolf. I am Michael Martin, the American Werewolf. In the house tonight, we've got John K. Alvarez, 61 and still not done. That's with 4 or 5 exclamation marks. So he really means it. How are you, man? It's good to see you.
I'm good, doing well, sir. How about yourself?
Yeah. Not too bad. Could be better, could be worse, but all good on the whole.
So you're right down the middle.
Well, now that we're talking, I mean, there's also, what happened to our friend who just lost. Give a thought and a prayer to our good friend Chris Munson, who lost his mother last week. Unfortunately, quite suddenly, and we'll be holding services for her tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, any day above ground, anything is possible. And
there was a music teacher that I worked with at a high school down here, and I asked him about something about 10 years ago, and I said, "How's it going?" He said, "Better to be seen than viewed."
It's very true.
And I went, the older I'm getting, I'm like, you know what? You're right. It kind of is.
Every single thing is possible from there on out. And it's best to be grateful. It's best to be grateful.
That's right.
So I was going to make a separate video about this, but I'll figure I'll just say it here, and maybe probably not. I was going to say maybe I'll make another video about it later, but I'm not going to. The format of the show is changing. We talked about this a little bit in the past 2 or 3 shows. Mm-hmm. Starting with this show, we are going to be shifting away from horror. We may look at horror again, but we gave it 270 plus episodes of some of the best horror that's out there. Eventually, and not surprisingly, what happened after 4 or 5 years is that got a little burnt out. And giving the show a direction, I thought about what to do. And actually, John, I never said this, but it was your idea. Hold on. Are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. It was your idea that inspired me when we did The Third Man. And you said, you know what? We could do a whole month of Orson Welles in January. And I was like,
agree.
Oh, that sounds shit hot. But then I thought, well, that's a little, are we going to start chasing actors, or is that just a random thing? So I started thinking of consistent programming. And what I said was, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to start looking at directors. And so every month, the show is going to cover a different director. And we will cover 3 to 4 films per month of that particular director. And the first one that I wanted to start with was Richard Linklater. Because he is fantastic and amazing. I just had the privilege of seeing his latest film over the weekend, Blue Moon, Ethan Hawke, and it is probably the best film I've seen all year. This film, however, is 2017's Last Flag Flying, which is exclusively on Amazon Prime. If you're ready to go, shall we get it going?
Giddy up, boss.
Wookie wookie.
Let me we white and white. If you show me a sign, I'll be willing to be moving.
So
nice opening.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm getting a little better at these things. So one of the thank you. I appreciate that very much. I put a little effort into that. So yeah, it's nice to have some change.
Yeah.
Um, One of the things that I certainly wouldn't ever describe Linklater, and we're going to be covering 3 more films of him this month. One of the things I would not use to describe him as is anti-American. I think in no way, shape, or form would you say that. However, he does have a heavy anti-authoritarian streak running within him. Anti the establishment, anti, whatever the given narrative is in a situation. And I think that really runs through in this film here. Let me start out with you here. Had you seen this film before, and what did you happen to think of it if you had not? Initial thoughts in the viewing. Go right ahead.
I had not seen this movie before, but I was in a lot of discussions where this movie was talked about. And a friend of mine and I, in one of these discussions, we were talking about how, especially when it comes to like war films, for lack of a better term, we would have to put them in certain categories. But he mentioned this movie and he said, I think it opens up a new category. It's not like a World War II film. It's not like an anti-war film. It's not a very pro-war film or like a Rambo. What it is, it's just with the people who've been through it and just the way they talk about it. To me, this is there's certain films, especially when it comes to the Vietnam War, I hold very near and dear just because the way they told the story. Deer Hunter is right at the top of the list.
Sure.
Apocalypse Now is right after it. After seeing this movie, this is number 3. Just because the way they handled the situation and the discussion, it was like with almost every Linklater movie I've ever seen. It's funny, it's touching, it makes you think, and it makes you feel.
Yeah, it takes. Let me just start out by saying I stated this before we went into the intro that this film. Excuse me for just a second.
Bless you, sir.
Thank you. This film is available exclusively on Amazon Prime. It is an Amazon Studios film that was released in 2017. It stars Steve Carell. I just think it's a great cast. It's Steve Carell. You've got Bryan Cranston. You've got Laurence Fishburne. Yep. And it's basically the story of 3 Vietnam veterans who now, in 2017 are reunited after many decades of not seeing each other because one of, Steve Carell's only son, his only child, has just been killed in Iraq. And not knowing what to do, also recently widowed, he decides to reach out to 2 of his Vietnam buddies to see if they will drive with him to go pick up his son's body. And it's more like a meditation on war from guys who have lived it, who have been screwed over by the system, who've been lied to. And now, they lead lives decades later, but they've all sort of been broken by the experience in their own way, each bouncing back as best they can. And now, guess what? Another war has broken out. Another kind of forever war has started. And it's not about the politicians. There's no action in this film whatsoever. It's not an action movie in any way, shape, or form, but it's just about what happens to the people who are fighting it on the ground. And, when a soldier gets killed, what happens to the families that are sort of left to pick up the pieces as this quiet, and Steve Carell plays it really great here as this quiet, somber, reserved, Man who has just lost everything. He's just lost his wife earlier in the year to breast cancer, and now he's lost his only child to the war. And there's just such a gap between what you're seeing on the news, between the politicians who are saying, we're gonna win the battle, we're gonna smoke them out of their hole, and it's ironic that we're doing this stream a couple of days after the death of former Vice President Dick Cheney. You forget how quickly things move and what was happening in 2003. It was just a crazy fucking time in the 9/11 world.
It's it's the way that it's told. I mean, you see maybe one officer at one point in time, but everybody else is the foot soldier, the guy who covered the ground, who did the work, Marines, of course, that attitude. But even when they show bitterness, there's also a sense of respect for what they went through, what the military stands for. We may be bitter, but, we did the job. We knew it had to be done.
Yeah, there's a great scene in here where Cranston, because Bryan Cranston is great. He came right out of Breaking Bad for this, and Linklater gave him no time. There's a little behind the scenes here. Cranston was fresh off Breaking Bad. Linklater gave him zero rehearsal. Just be the guy who never grew up. And he's just sort of, he's like a 60-year-old man stuck in a 20-year-old's body. He owns a bar, and it's one of those bars where, like, the bartender is just, like, insulting his own customers, like, all the time. Right. A retard, and you're just so dumb. And, it's that friendly kind of, older guy kind of banter that you really don't get, I guess, that much these days.
It's the bar in the corner. It's got the red leather, the dark wood. It's like, if the bar could talk, it'd be a hell of a story.
I love that they have Pabst Blue Ribbon on tap. I mean, it's just an everyman's bar. That's the first thing I know. Like, he's got Pabst Blue Ribbon on tap. This is like an everyman's kind of bar.
Yeah, exactly.
It said Steve Carell begged for the role after reading the script in one night, and he did it for scale. Whatever the union minimum was. This whole thing filmed in 21 days.
That's amazing.
Fishburne improvised the entire sermon scene. I mean, it's just
And might I add, well done to him. I thought he made a hell of a preacher.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's so out of character. Like, Carell has become like a factory supervisor. Cranston's a bar owner. Fishburne, who I guess was a wild man during his Vietnam days, has become a born-again pastor. But it's not a shystery kind of pastor. Like, he really has tried to turn his life around.
He found a good woman.
He finds a good woman, and they settle down into a nice life. And I think he's got a couple of kids, and he's a grandfather now. And now, after maybe 40 years, these guys are reuniting again under these very tragic circumstances. But at the same time, there's a ton of humor on this. Hold on, let me just get it. It said Linklater hired Vietnam and Iraq vets as extras and advisors. One told Cranston, "You are my buddy Sal," and Cranston kept the guy's dog tags in his pocket every take. The van, the U-Haul van, they really drove that van 1,200 miles for the shooting. Linklater insisted on real practical locations. So they were in Dover. They were in Arlington. They were in various areas of Virginia, or, they went to New Hampshire where, Carell really lived. No green screens.
When they walked into the bar in New York, and Laurence Fishburne said, "Could you get more Irish than now?" I was howling because I know that bar.
Oh, do you really?
That bar years ago.
Okay.
And I'm like, that's great.
I I love when they're walking through New York. He goes, "Do you smell that?" He's like, "What?" He goes, "Urine." It's the smell for the whole. I love it. It's it's the smell for the whole place. The jukebox song "What's Going On" from Marvin Gaye was banned on military bases in 1971 for being anti-war. So it plays during the diner scene, which is a subtle middle finger to what was happening back then.
Right.
The Arlington standoff, the cemetery scene was shot guerrilla style at 5 a.m. with minimal permits. A real Marine honor guard showed up by mistake, but decided to salute anyway when they found out what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it said Linklater's father was a World War II vet who hated military funerals.
Right.
So the film's take him home impulse was personal. And what happens during the film is that Carell's son, who's been killed, is being given a place at Arlington National Cemetery.
Right.
And Carell doesn't want that. He just wants to take him to his New Hampshire burial plot, bury him next to his mother. He's kind of had it with the government. He's had it with the military. He doesn't trust anybody anymore. They burned him. Now his son is dead. And, I think he finds that the two people he takes with him, even though they've led different lives, are sort of on the same page with him.
Right. And they're the ones that he would trust.
Yeah.
He went and found them and said, even when he asked Cranston, he goes, "Oh, could you give me a ride?" Yeah. And they went to go get Laurence Fishburne. They didn't tell him where they were going. They just said, and because they're the only ones he trusts. He looks so lost in the beginning of the movie.
He looks lost throughout the whole thing, if you ask me. He just looked lost.
He didn't know where the steps was, and he went back to his two buddies who were like his older brothers.
Yeah.
Where do I go? And this is what I think is the charm of the film. It's you still see the unit and that friendship, even though they don't see each other for years. All of a sudden they go, hey, they pick right up. It's literally in a few minutes. They're back in the banter.
I loved when they go to the church and Cranston is like telling Carell, what the hell happened to Mule? Like, he can't believe he's become a pastor, first-class drinker, gambler. Yeah. I think he calls him like a whore master or something like that. And the lady in the church, it's a black church, so she's got the big black church lady hat on, and she's just looking at him. He's like, "Oh, sorry,
sorry,"
because he never grew up. He has no wife, he has no kids. He owns a bar. He's always drunk. Or in some state of inebriation. And he is sort of the tipping point for a lot of this, I think, because he kicks it off into what it actually becomes. And I just love that one scene. They go to... because Carell doesn't tell Cranston what's happened.
Right.
He doesn't tell him. He's like, "Could you just give me a ride?" Something. He's like, "Oh my God, I haven't seen you in 40 years." They're drinking and they get all drunk and order a pizza. And, my war buddy is back. And he's like, "Could you give me a ride somewhere?" Mm-hmm. They drive to Fishburne's church. Then they drive to Fishburne's house, and then he sort of lays it on all of them. Yeah, and it's a lot. But at the same time, that had one of the funniest lines in there because initially Fishburne sort of is like, I can't get involved in it. Like, it's been too long. It's this was like not a good time for me, back then. Right. The way that they look at it, or at least the way that they handle it, is kind of different. And Fishburne doesn't want to get involved in. He leaves and is like, "I'm sorry, I can't. I don't think I can go." Mm-hmm. And his wife calls him in, and Cranston's like,
and
he's going. He's like, he's about to get shamed by his wife.
and damn it, he was right, because he was getting shamed by his wife.
And the funniest thing is that after decades, After seeing Bryan Cranston for only like a couple of hours, he immediately starts cursing again. Like they all start slipping back into like their old.
Yeah.
She's like, well, he's like, they have trained like psychologists there at the Air Force Base to, for grief counselors. He's going to be in professional hands. And she's like, well, who's going to protect him from that Sal person? Which is Bryan Cranston. And he's like, oh, Lord, you're right. And he just turns around and he goes, shit always goes sideways when Sal's involved. And she's like, what is happening?
It's amazing. It's so well done by three masters of what they're doing. And that's what, and four masters, I'm sorry, because you got to include Linklater.
Yeah.
And his hand on this. It's such, I was so glad that when you picked it, because I'm going, good, I'm finally going to get to see it. And now I'm so glad I did see it. This is a movie that when it comes on, you have people, especially if they were in the military, sit down, shut up, and watch.
A lot of Linklater films fly under the radar. He never makes a blockbuster. He never makes an action film. He never makes, I don't know, whatever it is that's popular.
He never makes a big slapstick comedy like, The Hangover or something.
Yeah, the closest he got to was School of Rock. That's the closest he got to. But if you ask me, if we're just talking about Linklater himself, I think, and this is a hot take, especially on what the usual panel is here, that he made the greatest trilogy of all time with the Before trilogy with Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy.
Yeah.
We're talking about a guy who made a trilogy over 20 years. Now, you could just as easily say, well, fuck you, it's The Godfather. But then you got that third movie, and I'm like, George Hamilton does not belong. That wasn't a Godfather. Right. To quote Sean Hughes.
And they should have waited till Winona Ryder was better before, instead of Sofia Coppola.
Sofia Coppola, yeah. And it's just, it's a train wreck. So for my money, he has, like time is almost a construct for him to make a movie with one character, these two characters in the early to mid 90s. And then 10 years later, the same two again. And then 10 years later, right after that, to do that movie about a boy, which I think he filmed over, 20 years?
Yep.
He filmed it in pieces over 20 years. So, I mean, these aren't films.
And an actress wins the Oscar for it, you know?
Yeah.
And she put 20 years of her life in an investment, and they said, here's an award. Nice job.
Patricia Arquette, wasn't it?
Yep.
Patricia Arquette. She was the mom. And I'll never forget that scene where she realizes her son's going to graduate high school, and she's like, "What the fuck am I supposed to do? Like, my life is over. Like, the thing that she's been doing for all this time is like over." She's like, "What the fuck am I supposed to do?" Right. She has like a mini meltdown, a mini crash out. But he doesn't make films like Dune or things that other auteurs are doing. But he is an auteur, and he just makes them on a smaller scale.
Yeah, and he makes the characters believable for you. I mean, every movie I've seen him do something, I'm sitting there not only thinking this is good acting, I'm going, I know that person.
Yeah, they're human.
His name may be different in my life, but I know that guy.
Yeah,
like I know a Bryan Cranston.
Yeah,
quite literally. I know the
Laurence Fishburne. Yeah,
exactly. The Steve Carell character. I mean, I know the young Marine with the body. I know these people.
Yeah.
You see them, and they're not boring. They're not two-dimensional.
No.
They're kind of like he's saying, "Hey, here's a little bit. Here's a little bit of life. Lights on, story done. Lights off, and it works. It really is, and especially for this movie.
Yeah.
I think if they played it over the top in any way, it would have killed it.
I was just saying before when we first started that he has just released a new film, which is called Blue Moon, which is about Lorenz Hart, who was a Broadway songwriter. And if you get a chance, and I'm saying this not just anybody in the chat, but if you get a chance, John, please go see it. Please go. I think it's the best thing that Linklater has done. He's been working with Ethan Hawke for 30 years. He sort of has his go-to people, a few of them.
Right.
And Ethan Hawke is the main guy. It is the best work that I've seen Linklater do. It is the best work that I've seen Ethan Hawke do. And we've all seen Ethan Hawke for a long time now. We've been watching Ethan Hawke for 30, 35 years now. And just the best thing that I've seen them both do. It is the best film I've seen all year. I was going through my letterbox, looking at reviews. I think I've seen 31 or 32 films at this point in the theater so far. That's the best one so far.
Right.
The best one so far.
When I saw the preview for the movie, because I know the whole story.
Right.
And I sat there and went, oh my God, they're actually doing it. And when I saw, it took me about 10 seconds to see it was Ethan Hawke.
Yeah.
He's brilliant in this.
Yeah, he's lost in that somehow. There are moments you see Ethan Hawke, but then you forget it's Ethan Hawke, and then you remember it's Ethan Hawke, and you're like, "Holy shit, this is Ethan Hawke!" Like, how does this happen?
The actor playing Oscar Hammerstein, whose name is escaping me right now. Yeah. I've seen him in so many different things.
Yeah,
and when I saw that it was him, I'm going, "He's perfect. He was the perfect choice to play this character. It's amazing."
Yeah. There's a quick note I just wanted to say about it, and I saw this, and this is Ethan Hawke talking about Linklater. This is from Variety, and it's just a quick sentence or two. It said, Ethan Hawke on waiting 12 years to make Richard Linklater's Blue Moon. I think I sent this to you. He says, he gave me that script 12 years ago. We did a reading at my house, and I said, I love this. Let's do it. He said, not yet. He'd send us a new draft every so often, and we do another reading.
Yeah.
We did that maybe 3 or 4 times over the next 7 or 8 years. Finally, Rick felt we were ready. I think he was waiting for me to get older. Most directors won't wait for an actor for 2 weeks. They'll just find someone else. But Rick waited over a decade. That says everything about who he is.
Well, Linklater, and it's funny because I really felt it in this movie. Linklater has a way of taking a story that could be like on the stage and put it on the film.
Yeah.
He makes it and the reason why I think he works with people is because he likes working with ensembles. You know, the cast that he's used to. He knows their strengths, he knows what they can do, and that's a risk taking because you could easily take an actor. We were just talking about it off the chat about certain actors who are getting too many roles,
right?
And they're getting overexposed. But with Linklater, you see them and you're going, "Oh, I'm glad he's in this movie because he's working with him." It's that type of storytelling.
It's good to know that people are still making real films.
Yeah.
When you see a film, and the funny thing is that when you see, and this has been my experience of seeing the Kogonada film, going to see The Rock, going to see the new Daniel Day-Lewis film, going to see this film, when you are going to see the new Linklater film, going to see Blue Moon, when you see these films in the theaters, they clue you into trailers that you don't see when you go to see the regular blockbuster. Like if I was to go see Tron Ares, and I got nothing to answer Tron series, I'm not putting it down. But I would see something completely different and not even realize that some of these other films were being made.
Mm-hmm.
And so you see, oh my God, this is coming out in a couple of months, or the new Brendan Fraser, he's about to drop another movie. You just see a completely new roster of trailers, and you realize people are still making quality films, but they're not blockbusters. They're just not.
And it's funny because when you go and see them, they're going, this is a good story. And they're going, yeah, but it fell short at the box office. Yeah, but it didn't fall short to me. You know, it got me as a person who's willing to go.
Yeah.
And Linklater is that way. He gets his hooks in you real subtle. But by the end of the movie, you're like, man, I am so glad I took this trip.
There's a new movie coming out with Timothée Chalamet, and it's getting all the Oscar buzz, this, that, and the other. But I would not be surprised if Ethan Hawke did not get himself an Oscar nomination. I'd love to see him win. I don't think he's ever won before. I think he was nominated for Training Day with Antoine Fuqua and Denzel. But I'd love to see him win this. My God, because if that doesn't, like, I'd love to see. I didn't see the Chalamet film. I probably will. It's a true story. I think about the guy who invented ping pong or table tennis or some shit like that. But I mean, like, if this doesn't get him the Oscar, I don't know what he'd have to do. You know, and sometimes
he might wind up getting a lot of independent film awards too.
Oh, I'm sure.
I would like to see.
I'm sure.
I haven't had a chance to go see. I mean, to me, it's almost like a chance now with people not going to see the big blockbusters in the movie theaters because they're waiting for streaming.
Right.
It gives a chance to a lot of the smaller independent films if they get a chance to get out there. Like I saw a friend of mine that saw Delivered Me from Nowhere, the one about Springsteen. It was directed by the guy who does that Black Church.
Sure.
Yeah, and he turned around. He was never a fan of Springsteen, but he saw it. And he sent me an email and said, if you don't see this in the movie theater, I'm personally going to come down to Cape May and smack you because of big of a fan. He goes, this movie got me. And I'm going, I won't buy an album of them, but I understand. And I went, oh. And I said, what's the important part? He said, it was a story. It wasn't all show or theatrics or we have the possibility of having that happen now. In theater, which I would love. If it happens only 6 months to a year, I'll take it. You know, because I'm not searching for it on Tubi or something. You get to see it and sit down with a bucket of popcorn and say,
"That's the way you're supposed to say." Yeah, go. Just go. Yeah.
I'm all for that.
I think when I go to see films like this now, I'm going to sort of break out my phone just at the beginning, not when the film starts, but during the trailers. And like write down the names of these films that are coming out because I may not always remember the titles because you're not what's coming. There's something coming in December. It's the new Avatar. I think the new Avatar drop. That's going to take up all the trailer smoke.
Yeah,
and I got nothing against Avatar. I love the first one. I love the second one. But like these smaller things are like now I don't know. I'm in this place where these are the films that these are the ones that I want to see. I want to sit in the theater. And I think there were 4 other people in the theater for Linklater this past weekend. It's not going to be a blockbuster. Who cares?
Right. Who cares? You got to see it in the theater.
Yeah.
You got to see the story. It was told.
Got to see him act his ass. It's acting. It's acting. Yeah. It's not CGI. It's fucking acting.
Yeah.
At the highest level.
I don't mind the fact that if you look at some of the big blockbusters that came out this summer, talking about like the Marvel movies, the DC movies.
Yeah, Mission Impossible.
You're looking at their the amount of money they're making, and people are going, "Oh, they failed." I'm like, really?
Yeah.
You're putting the emphasis on the cash flow, and you'll see something like Blue Moon, or you'll see something like Last Flag, and you're going, these guys didn't care about the money. It's the story they're telling.
Yeah. I'm looking here. Last Flag Flying was made for $25 million. Okay, so $25 million, that's all right. And people are still watching it today. I mean, here we are talking about it now, 8 years later. Blue Moon was low budget. The exact figure not publicly disclosed. So, okay. Now, let's get back to the film for a second, though.
Yeah, let's go back to the film. Sorry.
When he shows it, he's so confused, Carell is, and he's so lost in this that they actually drive to Arlington.
Right.
And the body's not going to Arlington. It's going to Dover Air Force Base.
Right.
And they arrived and they're like, what do you mean? You told us he was at Arlington. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, he doesn't.
Yeah.
He's just.
He's shell-shocked.
He's devastated. Yeah, he's just devastated.
Yeah,
I think he's with the only 2 people that would understand that.
Right. And the only 2 people who would help him.
Yeah. They're like, okay, yeah, we're going to, road trip. We're turning around. We're going back we're in Virginia. No problem. We were already in Virginia. We're going to Delaware. We're going to take a drive.
And it's another one of those lines where Carell goes, "You want me to drive?"
Yeah.
And Cranston goes, "Yeah."
Yeah. Okay.
But
Okay.
it was like he was so looking for. He goes, I need help, and who were the two that helped him when he was in the war?
Yeah.
They referred to how young he was compared to them. They
There are
took care of him.
there are just small things that and lines in here that are so like what I forget where they are. They're in the bar or something like that because they're in any number of bars in this movie, and they capture Saddam Hussein.
Yeah,
and like
and they
it's like
look at
this.
him.
It's like this gap. Like something happens, and nobody really knows how to respond to that, because he's lost his son in the war. They capture Saddam. He's hiding in a spider hole. And, Cranston just says, he goes, one day he's the head of a country. The next day he's hiding out in some spider hole, scared to death. It's just about how quick life can flip on you.
Right.
And for the worst. For the worst.
And it's funny because a moment like that didn't become the central point for the movie.
No,
it was kind of something like a matter of fact. The central point was this story.
Yeah, it's just small little blip, but it's just this little point that reinforces the theme. That shit just changes, and a lot of times it doesn't always change for the better, at least in the short term. Sometimes the rug just gets yanked out from under you. Sometimes you fall through the floor. Sometimes the basement has another basement. It just for a split second, he actually made me feel for Saddam Hussein. Just that small line,
right?
Just scared. The guy's just scared. 1 minute he's the president of a country, and the next minute, he's scared to death.
Oh, and let's not forget the scene where they bought the truck.
Well, I mean, let's not go. Let's talk about the media blackout.
Right.
And if you remember, they weren't doing they weren't showing the bodies coming back. If you were in real life during the Bush administration, they had a media blackout. You weren't allowed to go to Dover and see all those bodies coming back. All the or the people like in Walter Reed that were coming back with missing arms, missing legs. It was just it was all positive spin.
Right.
And I wasn't a fan of the war. I got bored one time. I don't know if you knew this. I got bored one time. I went out to live in California. I don't know if you remember this. I stayed with Rod. This was like 20 some odd years ago. And I got so bored, I actually went to the Army recruiter. And I was just, this was like May of 2003. And, the war had just kind of kicked off. And I was just like, you know what? The hell with it. I was sick of, school and like everything. And I just, who knows, who knows what might have happened. Who knows what might have happened. It didn't turn out because, as you know, I have a couple of misdemeanors back on my record from like the 90s. And they were like, well, sorry, we can't do much about that. I was just about to age out. I think I was 34 at the time because like by the time you're 35, you can't. You kind of are who you. No, you are who you are. Like an 18-year-old, you can yell at him and do this and do it. And you can sort of mold people. And once you get past a certain age, you're like, I'm not really doing that.
Yeah,
and that kind of thing. But
at a certain age, you become Cranston's character.
A lot of people, a lot of people volunteered after 9/11. Were they? This was one of the central themes of the film. A lot of people volunteered after 9/11. Were they badly used? When we get to Dover and we find out the real story of how he was killed versus what the Marine Corps tells the family about how he was killed, or they said They said he died, emptying his clip out with a bayonet in his hand.
Yeah, bayonet in his hand.
He had a bayonet in his hand. He was going down, swinging, and then you find out, he was getting some Coca-Cola, some sodas for some friends, and some guy just walked up behind him and killed him.
Right.
And so, I say all that, going to the recruiters myself, were these people, badly used by the system?
It became, I think in some cases there were. I mean, I remember, and it's a shame now because I forget her name. but there was the one woman in the beginning of the war who
Jessica Lynch.
Jessica Lynch, thank you. And they were saying she was in a foxhole and she was fighting them all off and holding them back, and they captured her, and Americans went in and brought her out, and you hear the story, they're like, no, Iraqi doctors came behind the lines and said, we can't help her. We want to bring her to you.
Yeah.
To me, which was but they didn't want to tell that story. It's the guy who used to play for the Arizona Cardinals who was killed.
Pat Tillman.
Yeah, and they were saying same thing. He was fighting them all off, and it turned out it was friendly fire.
It was friendly fire. Yeah.
And it was like they're trying to present the war in a certain way.
And I think to some extent, and I'm certainly not defending the Bush administration. I think Bush was.
Right.
I think Bush was also badly used by his handlers. He was very inexperienced, and I think he was very badly used. And I think to this day, you never hear from George W. Bush again. Like he doesn't put himself in the picture and make any political statements. Is that he's just sort of gone off and retired and lives quietly with his wife.
You may see him at a funeral or something like
that. Like when Jimmy Carter passed, he showed up for that kind of thing. But I mean, there's this idea that, the government has always been using the everyday man badly.
Right.
And especially in time of war. I think Cranston calls it Vietnam 2.0. He calls the Iraq thing Vietnam 2.0.
Right.
And
it was funny because they made comments about it, but then still took pride in being in the Marines.
Yeah.
I love that. They were against like war, but they were for the soldiers or the men that were doing. He goes, you didn't hide from it, you didn't run from it. You were in the mix, and you said, "Okay, I got to get through it."
Yeah, we were Marines. We fought. We were proud of our service. But the system and the higher ups, can take a flying leap. And Cranston really gets into it with that one colonel.
Right.
That one Marine colonel.
And I love what he said at the end.
He
said, because if I was in my prime and we met, we'd go at it, and we'd both be going to jail. But
well, no, he tells him he would have killed him.
Yeah.
He says, I would frag you, and you would get fragged, and I would go to the break.
Yeah.
So there's resentments there, over the way that, their war experience played out. And
what's the first thing the old Marine said? He goes, "So you were in the Corps, huh?"
Yeah. It's the difference between truth versus myth making.
Right.
And the reality of things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my son was killed buying some Coca-Colas. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't make, you go over to Iraq and you get killed buying a couple of Coca, like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, it makes sense to say he was firing down on the enemy, he died with his bed. Like, you understand that, he charged that hill, but like, you tell somebody, no, he got out of the truck to buy some colas for a couple of us, and like, that doesn't, but that's, the reality of it doesn't make any sense.
And the one guy who felt guilty because he said it was my turn.
Yeah.
And he said, no, I'll get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should mention that, they end up getting as a liaison because they want to drive the body back themselves. One of his son's friends who was a Marine. I liked the guy in that film.
Yeah. I liked him.
Yeah, he was really good. He was just another regular guy, and in order to go with them, guess what? He doesn't have to go back to Baghdad right now, so he's going to stay alive a little longer.
Right.
So
which Cranston said, "You're welcome."
Yeah, exactly. You're not on the train to Baghdad, So hey, guess what? You're on the train with us.
Right. I love that.
I mean, it's just, I don't know.
It's the way they view the world. You have the ones that went through it, how they still will cling to each other outside of war. And the young guy that was with him. I mean, even the situation of the guy that was on the train when they were bringing the body.
Yeah.
And he
was
said,
a veteran.
I'll watch him because I know exactly what that means.
Yeah, I was in Desert Storm. I was in Desert Storm.
But he said, I'll watch him go. I mean,
yeah.
It like never leaves you.
Yeah. That's what he says. I don't have Gulf War syndrome. I think he says my dick hasn't fallen off. My kid is healthy. I didn't pass any sort of radiation sickness onto my family. I'm healthy. Yeah, I got it. But, it's also about like it's like the paperwork of death.
Yeah.
The paperwork aspect of after someone dies, the way things are written up, the transfer of the body back to America. And then, is the government will handle all the expenses, transporting to them, to Arlington or wherever the family chooses. It's a little over 2 hours. Did you think it could have used, and I hate to use this modern audience kind of question, could it have used some editing?
I never got bored. It was afterwards when I realized it was about 2 hours. I sat there and I said, I never got bored. It didn't feel like 2 hours to me. And when I went over it again in my head before we came on the air, I was like, where would you cut it?
Yeah. What would you cut? What are you going to cut?
Where would you cut? I mean, like in the bar in the very beginning when Cranston's taking the last slice of pizza and slapping Steve Carell in the face saying, you ready? You want? I said, if you cut that movie, I would have been ticked because that set up Cranston's whole character.
Yeah.
Just that little bit. From that point on, you knew that type of person.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't picture anything being cut.
Yeah.
And then in my head, I'm going, I was never bored. I mean, it never once did I say, hurry up,
Yeah, can we get on with it, please? That's.
And I think that's also goes right to Linklater's style of directing. He has it wonderfully paced.
I find it hard to find fault with most of really any of his films. Yeah. Some are better than others. But I can't find much that's wrong with this one. It's like that line in the movie, fuck what the politicians did, you sir.
I like the times where they saluted.
Sure.
There were several moments when they were carrying the casket or whatever, and they showed it, like especially outside the train. And when they put it on, you see all 5 of the Marines salute.
Yeah.
And then when they got to the very end of the graveyard, it was the 2 friends.
Yeah.
That were doing it. The way even those 2, who were polar opposites, really, at that point in time, the way how they took it seriously.
It's very serious. Yeah, there's nothing more.
I never looked better than in that suit. That blue uniform.
Yeah.
And the way, they folded the flag and it was funny because they were both old and Cranston looked, well worn, but man, they were taking that. This is our friend, this is our, and it was funny because that's when I actually started crying. That's the one where I teared up because they knew what they had to do to help him. And then Cranston then turns around and goes, I don't know if the president's proud or whatever he said when he made the flag. And it made me giggle because that was also him too.
Yeah.
But,
And then at the end, because the thing, Carell struggles with, he doesn't want his son buried in his dress blues. He doesn't want any sort of and then they end up having to compromise. Right. Yeah, maybe he would, be okay in his, in his military uniform. And then to get the letter at the end from his son, the death letter, saying, hey, if you get this, it means I haven't made it. I lived a great life. I was proud to serve. Don't bury me in one of the military hospital and the military, or Arlington. Take me home.
Yeah.
Which is what his father has been trying to do the entire time. And at the end, to receive that confirmation from his son and to say, I'm actually doing what my son would have wanted. which is where the film ends. Is just
and bury me in my blues.
Yeah,
and I'm like, damn.
Yeah, and that's actually how it ends. Like,
Yeah.
he finishes the letter, and then it just ends.
Yeah, and I love that. He fulfilled his son's wish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
amazing. It's an amazing film. And I really was so glad you picked it, because I probably don't know if I would have seen it.
Again, Linklater films aren't ones that are, extraordinarily popular, but people do know a few of them. They know like Dazed and Confused, and they know, School of Rock, and those sorts of those have gone a bit mainstream. But things like this, they go right past people.
Right?
You're watching what? What is it? And yeah, you're missing a hell of a thing, which we'd had a good opportunity to talk about here today.
For a couple people, when I talk about Linklater and they say, "What are you watching?" I said, "A good movie. You should be watching it too."
Yeah.
He does a good job, man.
Yeah, I mean, I got nothing against the next Predator movie. I think I got tickets this Friday. Although Russell Crowe is dropping the new Nuremberg movie this weekend too. So that's important. That's actually an important film. I mean, right. I might actually cash in my 53 cents on the refund for Predator and go see the Nuremberg film.
There you go.
I'm kind of blockbustered out, just in life. But maybe that's what I'm actually going to do. So, if you get a chance to see this, it is on Amazon Prime. It's an Amazon exclusive film. Can't say enough good things about it. Is there anything in this film that you would like to discuss that we have not covered? Now, we didn't touch on everything.
Mm-hmm.
There's still there's tons of subplots in here. Tons of.
Yeah, but if you talk about them, it might take it away from people. I mean, the last thing I was going to say, put this on your list. See it.
Yeah.
Just see it.
Because I'll just say this: there's a whole Vietnam subplot, something that happened in Vietnam that is sort of a subplot in here, and it's really important. It's really important. But we don't want to give the whole movie away.
I'm sorry, Leslie Uggams.
Cicely Tyson.
Cicely Tyson.
Yeah,
you got to give a shout out to her, because that scene she was in was genuinely beautiful.
Yeah, and I don't want to get into that because that gets into the Vietnam subplot.
Right.
Cranston has to sort of eat his own words about something.
But it's beautifully done.
Yeah, it is. All right, let's get to the part in the film part in the stream where we rate the film. This film has a rating system that goes to 0 to 5 up by halves. So 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, all the way to 5. Mm-hmm. So 0, for example, would be I'd rather step in cat piss with a sock on, all the way to 5, which is this is the journey, this is the destination, this is why I watch films in the first place. John K. Alvarez, what would you give Richard Linklater's Last Flag Flying?
If you take 61 and make it 6 minus 1, I'm giving it a 5.
5. 6 minus 1, that's a 5.
I'm giving it a 5, baby.
5. A 5. That's interesting. Okay, a 5. I'm going to go with 4.5. I'm going to go with 4.5.
You're 11.
Is it Lawrence of Arabia?
No.
So that would be like a 5 for me. Or, within certain genres, you have certain films, and that's a 5, But for this, I would say 4.5. Mm-hmm. It's not a perfect film. It's not perfect, because I've seen him do perfect films. If you want to see a Linklater film that's perfect, go see Before Sunset, which I actually I drove to Philly. I took a train to Philly one time and went to see at the old Roxy Theater on 20th and Sansom.
There you go.
Back in the day, in 2003, I took a day off, I think, to go see that. And it was this 90-minute film that takes place in real time because Ethan Hawke has 90 minutes before he has to leave for the airport.
Right.
So to decide if he wants to do something about this chance meeting he's had. And I'm like, this is the perfect film. So he has made perfect ones. This is close. I would say Blue Moon. I'd give that a 5. But this, I'd say 4.5. It's damn good. It's damn good. It's an important movie. And
it makes me want to talk about it more. You know, the more we're talking about it now, the more I want to talk about it even more so.
If you made it through the Bush era, then this is going to mean something to you. If you're a Gen Zer who maybe remembers or doesn't remember 9/11 and what happened in 2003 with the Iraq War, then you should still see it. But I think older millennials on up will have a connection to this, and you're like, oh yeah, I remember that time, which wasn't that long ago.
Right.
And there was a lot of fallout. All right, John K. Alvarez, plug something. Anything?
I got nothing to plug.
I got nothing.
First time in a while, man. I got a nice, easy weekend.
All right. Well, that's something to look forward to then.
I'll take it.
For this channel, we are going to continue with Richard Linklater. And the films on hand for that, I think, well, I don't know necessarily in what order. We're going to get into Dazed and Confused. Oh, I have to change the settings. I think I'm mirroring here. And then is that lettering coming out correct?
Yes.
Okay. It's mirroring on my camera. Okay. And then we're going to do Waking Life, Dazed and Confused, Waking Life. And then the one I really want to get into, because it's me and Orson Welles. Which is about a stage production, I think, at the college level, which is run by the director happens to be a very young Orson Welles. So that's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a good month talking about films. I'm looking forward to all of them. When we get to December, there'll be the selection of another director, and then we'll just go on from there. I've probably selected already probably about 50 different directors. So we're set. This show is set for the next several years.
Yes.
Several years. It's not hard. It'd be difficult to pick. Like if we went with like a month of Orson Welles, that'd be one thing. But it'd be difficult to pick actors. That'd be a little more.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a little more difficult. Directors, though, no problem.
Absolutely.
All right, so we'll be back next week, probably with Dazed and Confused. My thanks to John K. Alvarez, 61 and still not done. And we will see you all in the next video. All right, take care, everyone. God bless you.
Peace.